So, yes, let me tell you about cartoons, okay? Very different today than they were when I was growing up. And the problem with that is because when I was growing up, cartoons were an event. They were something to be experienced. And now we have cartoons 24 hours a day sometimes, and they're all just mass-produced crap. So I'm going to give you my 10 best retro cartoons, and I want to know what you think about them. You can comment away when this is online, or you can call in later during our main topic. But I'm going to start with number 10 is the Smurfs. I'm a Smurfs-aholic. Everyone laughs at me because I can tell you where Baby Smurf comes from, Moonbeams, by the way, where Smurfette came from. But then you get the 80s, the later 80s, when they introduced the other kids and Grandpa, and I can still hear Chris Rachel's mic over there. She's like tapping on it. It's just, yeah, before when it started, it was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was fun to watch. And it's Smurfs. It's my guilty pleasure. What can I say? Coming in at number 9 is the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. Do you guys remember that? That really bad cartoon about Dungeons & Dragons? But that was my first introduction to Dungeons & Dragons. Imagine how surprised I was in middle school when I found out it's nothing like the cartoon. But it was still a really good introduction to kids to grow up to be geeky and have a good sense of fantasy. But as for a fantasy show, it wasn't quite the best. There's better ones you'll see on my list later on. But Dungeons & Dragons just made an awesome, awesome show. Going in number 8. I don't know if anybody remembers this. Mask. M-A-S-K. To this day, I cannot tell you what it stood for. I just know that the little red car had wings that popped out, and the guy was driving it, then all of a sudden flying. It's about transforming vehicles that weren't exactly robots, but they had like super agents in them and super villains, and they had these awesome car battles and helicopter battles, and I don't really remember what the cartoon was about. I just remember I loved the vehicles. I guess, is that a good sign of a good cartoon? I don't know. I just know red car, wings out, I was sold. It beat the DeLorean any day of the week. Coming in at number 7, another good fantasy series, Pirates of Darkwater. Now, I liked everything about this cartoon except for that really annoying monkey bird thing. That thing was annoying. However, the premise of this was it's ripe for RPG territory. The whole world's covered in dark water, and it's got pirates, and it's got steampunk elements, and fantasy elements, and mythical. I mean, it all just kind of came together in this really good show that people laugh at on the level of Aquaman. And I don't quite understand because Aquaman is still pretty cool, so is this show. Number 6 is the classic, Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes, when I grew up, is nothing like the crap you guys have today. I'm going to be real honest. You had the classic Looney Tunes and shorts that were fun. I still remember Pepe Le Pew could make me laugh any day of the week, even though it was the same cartoon over and over again. There was something, it is the same cartoon over and over again. Cat gets sprayed with paint. Oh, I'm going to fall in love with you. Something's wrong with Pepe Le Pew at the end of the day. Seriously, he needs to go get laid or something. I guess that was the point of the cartoon. Anyways, so classic Looney Tunes, it's just one of those really, really, really fun things. So going in number 5 is Silverhawks. If you don't know what Silverhawks is, just look it up online. They had like a Death Star with a falcon head, and they had like the lamest villain names ever. But it was the most fun. It was space cops and space robbers. That was basically the whole premise of it. And they were like cyborgs. They flew around, and it was just enthralling as I was a kid. So I was like, I want to be a space cop. I want to be a space ranger to go chase lame villains. Let me emphasize that. Lamest villains ever in a cartoon series outside of maybe Shirt Tails. I think the Economy was their villain. I don't know. But anyway, Silverhawks was a good deal of fun, and it had that serious sci-fi element that was missing from a lot of Saturday morning cartoons. Coming in at number 4, who doesn't love Ren and Stimpy? That was one of the original Nickelodeon cartoons, and they only played it on Saturday morning with Our Real Monsters and Rugrats. But Ren and Stimpy was at that point where I was starting to grow up a little bit and understand the humor. That was just like the perfect cartoon. It was twisted, it was deranged, and it led way to Adult Swim, a lot of, like Simpsons, a lot of the cartoons that we love, you could probably thank Ren and Stimpy for because nothing came close to the obscene fun of Ren and Stimpy. Which then leads us to number 3, G1 Transformers. Come on, y'all. You cannot beat G1 Transformers. That's the original Transformers where all the Autobots were cars and all the Decepticons were flying. For some reason, the Autobots could fly sometimes, and then they couldn't because they'd be trying to fall off a cliff. So what I loved about retro cartoons, they just took whatever worked and went with it. And, you had Beast Wars and all these other new Transformers. It's just not the same. This was, especially the Transformers movie where Optimus Prime died and you had Unicron. It was an epic cartoon. How could you not love it? And they don't have epic cartoons like that anymore. They just don't. But coming in at number 2 is G.I. Joe. You want explosions, fist fights, gunplay, car chases, over-the-top bad guys, over-the-top plots, more explosions, more fist fights, some knife fights, G.I. Joe had everything a little boy could ever want in a 30-minute cartoon, plus a nice message at the end, because now you know and knowing is half the battle. But the absolute best cartoon of all time, Masters of the Universe. You had magic, you had sci-fi, you had technology, you had all sorts of things, with a cool villain with a freaking skull face. I mean, come on. Granted, it had some questionable moments, but seriously, you had He-Man, you had She-Ra. It was like Conan mixed with like Harry Potter. I mean, come on. It was just like the best show ever. And even the remake is really, 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 really good. But we do ignore the live-action movie. That's erased from Masters of the Universe existence. But the dude who made the G.I. Joe movies is making a live-action He-Man movie, so hopefully they'll do something really good with it. But He-Man, Masters of the Universe, best retro cartoon ever.